Hi, my name is Jana Bozeman. I am a yoga instructor in the Denver, Colorado area. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. Today, this is going to be an hour-long VinYin. So we're going to flow a little bit, get warm, and then we're going to move into some deep stretching. So this is a great class to have some props available, blocks, yoga blankets, a strap if you have them. If not, no worries. You can go and grab a couple of beach towels, work really good as blankets, or firm blankets, cushions from the couch would work. Books. And if you don't have them, we can figure it out as well. So without further ado, let's get going. We're going to start in child's pose today. So go ahead and come to your mat. You're going to bring your big toes together, knees apart. And then you're going to just start to lengthen forward through your chest as your hips melt back. And depending upon how tight your body is, this could feel a little intense for you. Maybe you want to make a pillow with your hands to start. Sometimes it can feel really nice to have your arms by your side. So if you're a little tighter in the hips, sliding a blanket underneath the knees can offer a little bit of support. It also kind of serves as a nice little calf stretch too. So just find a place where you're comfortable. And then go ahead and take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. Let the day so far go. The to-do list go. It's the holiday season, so for a lot of us, it can be a lot of fun, but it can also be a lot of stress. So see if you can let any of that go. Just giving yourself permission to check in for this next hour, slow down. Not worry about all of the things that you need to get done. You'll get to them. It'll happen. After you've exhaled that breath through your mouth a few times, start to inhale through your nose and then also exhale through your nose. So we start to find our Ujjayi breath. And there is this slight constriction of the sides of your throat. So you're making a sound. It sounds like Darth Vader or ocean waves rolling in and out. And you can really start to listen to that sound. I'm just going to be here a couple of moments. As much as possible, you're listening to the sound of your breath. That being said, your attention is going to wander. You're going to get distracted by sounds happening in the room that you're in. You're going to get distracted by the thoughts coming into your head. That's all good. When you become aware that that's happened, however, come back to your breath. And then also here, just use your breath to help you find a sense of release in your body. So notice if there's tension anywhere and try to soften in those places. And if your arms are by your side here, go ahead and stretch them forward. We're going to take a little twist in this child's pose. So you're going to start to walk your arms off to the right. You're going to lay down or move towards laying down over that right thigh. You can think downward facing dog arms here. So fingers are spreading, pressing evenly, forearms are lifting. And then you're wrapping your left ribs to the right. Feeling this stretch through the left side, little lateral stretch. And then we walk back to center here and take your twist to the left. So same thing, just extending through the arms, spreading fingers, pressing evenly. You can rest your head either on that right arm or on the floor. You're wrapping your right ribs to the left. So feeling all of that nice lengthening through the right torso. Good. Walk back to center here. As you inhale, come up to your tabletop. You can move any props out of the way here. So just landing with your shoulders over your wrists, knees underneath your hips, spread your fingers a little bit. root down into your shins. As you inhale, you're going to arch into your lumbar. So shoulder heads press back. As you exhale, move in the opposite direction. So arms stay straight. Belly button towards spine. Inhaling, arching. Exhaling, rounding in. Continuing like this. Few rounds of breath here. And you might be moving a little slower today if you're feeling a little anxious, like there's just too much to get done. If you're feeling a little lethargic, speed your breath up. Just try to introduce a little more energy into the body. Mostly wherever you're at, you're enjoying this flow that we're starting to create as we connect movement with the breath and finding this nice little rhythm. And then also just gently warming up the spine here. As we come into flexion and then extension. From here, let's inhale, come back to a neutral spine. Walk your hands forward a couple of inches. So spread fingers, pull your belly button in a lot, curl your toes under, and we're just gonna hover the knees about an inch. This is called get warm quick. So you can keep your gaze forward, feel the outer hip squeeze in, and I'm starting to feel it. So a few more breaths here. Stay if you can. Keep your shoulder blades squeezing in towards each other. Feel that openness across your heart and chest. Maybe feel the burn in your quadriceps. You might be feeling it in your glutes. You might be feeling it in your lower belly. This is actually really hard to do. Good. Feel the inner arm wrap towards the outer arm. Hold on to that. Start to stretch your sit bones up towards the ceiling. Hallelujah. We pull back to downward facing dog. And then just take a moment here. Fidget around, pedal back and forth between your feet if that feels good. If you prefer to just come into a place of stillness, maybe with knees bent, if your hamstrings, lower back are a little tighter. And we all eventually meet there. So when you get there, you're letting your head release down. You're just gazing between your feet, which are about hips distance apart. First downward dog of the day. Always, feels a little tight. That's okay. Just know that this is going to change as we start to warm up. Let's inhale, shift forward into plank pose. So we're going to land with shoulders over our wrists here, reaching back through your heels, stretching forward through your sternum, gaze slightly forward so the back of your neck is nice and long. And then exhale, belly pulls up and back, sit bones stretch towards the ceiling, downward dog. A few more like that. Inhale, nice and slow, take that full breath. Exhale, downward dog. This is like your little wave on the ocean. Let's do 2 more complete rounds. You're just moving with your breath, just building a little heat inside the body. So we're going for that first part of class. Little get warm quick so we can do some deeper stretching in the yin portion of our class. All right, so from here, walk your hands back to meet your feet. As you inhale, you can bring your hands to your shins or thighs, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Make sure all the weight isn't in your heels, kind of lean forward a little bit. Exhale, fold in. You might have a deep bend in your knees here. 2 more like that. Inhale into our Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. This is like a standing Cobra Pose. Exhale, fold in. Inhaling, lengthening forward. Exhaling, folding in. Pressing down into your feet, stretching your arms out and up. And as you exhale, hands come together at your heart. And we're going to move into a few half sun salutes here. So peek down at your feet. You might be standing with feet together. If you feel nice and balanced, do make sure that your second and third toe are pointing forward. Otherwise, feet about hips distance apart. Here we go. Inhale, arms will reach up. Exhale, hinge forward, fold. And maybe with that little bend in your knees, find lots of length through the sides of your waist. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, fold in. Pressing down into your feet, stretching arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. 2 more, just like that. So inhaling, reaching Utthita Hastasana into Dasana, extended mountain. Exhale, Uttanasana, deep forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Exhale back into your Uttanasana. Pressing into your feet, reach back up into your extended mountain pose. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Samastitihi, even standing. One more. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, chest lengthens. Exhale, fold. Pressing into your feet, reaching arms out and up. Good. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Let's inhale, reach up. Keep your arms about shoulders distance apart. Press into your feet as you exhale. Side bend to the right. You could pretend you're holding a block between your hands. Inhale up to center. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale, back up to center. As we exhale, we're going to hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Bend your knees, plant your palms, right foot back, then the left foot back. Here we are in our plank pose, taking an inhale. And then as you exhale, shift forward on your toes. Let's come to our knees for this first one. Elbows squeeze in. You start to lower onto your belly. Tops of the feet press here. Reach your arms by your side, palms face in. Anchor down into your feet. As you inhale, head and chest, arms lift forward and up. Few breaths here. Feel the shoulder blades squeezing in towards each other. Roll a little more to the outer edges of your feet. Keep that breath smooth and steady. The inhale is giving you a little lift, a little lightness, even if it's not physically happening in your body. See if you can find it in your brain. All right, so let's keep our upper body lifted here. Bend your elbows. So bring your fingertips underneath your shoulder heads. Elbows squeeze into the midline. So we've moved into our low Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, coil the chest forward and up. Exhale, lower. Inhaling, lifting up. Good, exhale, lower down. And then inhale, lift up here. Good. As you exhale, press to your tabletop, curl your toes under, downward facing dog. We're going to inhale, lift our right leg up. Exhale, step that foot through, land on your left knee. All right, so we want our right knee over our ankle. Just a few breaths here, releasing this left hip down. We might revisit this again in the in portion. And then we're going to inhale, pull this right leg back so it comes to straight. So getting into the hamstring stretch. Not a long hold here, but it's intense. Okay, so we're going to rock forward. Hands come to your right thigh. Make sure that your legs are hips distance apart. You don't want to be on a tightrope. As you inhale, arms reach out and up. Think Cobra Pose in your upper body. And then right fingertips to left wrist. Get long on that left side. Feel the outer hip squeeze in. Start to side bend to the right. So a few breaths here. Really press to the inner edge of that right foot. Feel these right ribs. Wrap up towards the ceiling. There's a little bit of a twist. Good. Inhale up to center. As you exhale, hands plant. Curl your left toes under. Firm that thigh up. And then come onto your fingertips. So get long through the sides of your waist. Inhale, take your arms out wide. Exhale, reach the arms up overhead. Nice. Plant your palms as you exhale. Step to your plank pose. Take an inhale here. Exhale, shift forward. This time you can use your knees or do full chaturanga plank pose. So lower to halfway pause onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, pull back into your downward facing dog. As you inhale, your left leg lifts. Exhale, step it through. You might have to pick it up and move it forward. Land on that right knee. Let that right hip flexor release down. This is intense. You could have your hands on blocks here. Couple of breaths. How is this side different than the other side? And then we pull this left leg to straight. If you're a little tighter in your hamstring, there might be a nice generous bend in that knee. You might have hands on blocks here. You might be upright, just using a wall to help support you. If you're a little more flexible, you're finding more of a forward fold and you're really pointing these left toes up towards the ceiling. Okay, as we exhale, we rock forward, hands to that left thigh. Direct your tailbone down, stretch your sternum up. Inhale, arms reach up. Good, find Cobra Pose in your upper body. Left fingertips to right wrist, deep inhale. Feel the outer hips squeeze in to support you as you side bend to the left, feeling all of that glorious stretch through the right side of your body. Maybe you're gazing up underneath that top arm if it feels okay. Keep pressing to the inner edge of that left foot. This is a little bit of a balance pose here, even with this back knee down. So if you're wobbling a little bit, you're not doing it wrong. Inhale, we come back up to center. Good, as we exhale, hands come to the mat. Curl those right toes under, so firm up that thigh. Be on your fingertips here, lengthen through the sides of your waist. Inhale, arms reach out wide like airplane wings. Exhale, you're still low. Arms come in line with your ears. Good, deep inhale. And then exhale, plant your palms, step your left foot back to meet your right foot. Take an inhale in your plank pose. Good, as you exhale, shift forward. Again, you can use your knees, lower to halfway, pause, and then onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, pull back, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths. So you're just gazing between your feet, they're hips distance apart. And I don't know about you, but already downward dog is starting to feel a little more open, a little easier. It might be really subtle, but just start to notice how poses shift as we begin to warm up. And it doesn't take much time to get there. Okay, so as we inhale, we're gonna find a little bend in our knees, come to our tippy toes. So you're still in your downward dog, look forward to where you're going. End of your exhale, you can step right foot forward and left. You can walk forward. You can lightly hop, however you wanna get there. Inhale, chest lengthens. Exhale, fold in. Pressing into your feet, stretching arms out and up. Good, as you exhale, hands come together at your heart. So let's turn all of that into a little flow. So just building a little more heat in the body. As you inhale, arms reach out and up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Bend your knees, plant your palms, left foot back, then right foot. Take an inhale here and plank. As you exhale, shift forward, lower halfway, hover onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, pull back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts, hips stay even. Exhale, step that foot through, land on your left knee. All right, so exhale, sink in. Inhale, pull that front leg to straight, hips come back. Exhale, just upright yourself here. Inhale, reach arms out and up. Good, as you exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale up to center. We got this. As you exhale, curl your toes under. Inhale, get length. Take an exhale. And then inhale, reach your arms out wide. Exhale, stretch them forward. You're still nice and low. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands plant. Step to your plank pose. Take an inhale here. Good, exhale, shift forward. Lower halfway, hover onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, come into your downward facing dog. We're feeling the heat. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. Land on that right knee. Melt that hip flexor down. Inhale, bring that left leg to straight. Good, exhale, rock forward, upright yourself. Inhale, tailbone lengthens, sternum reaches, left fingertips right. Hand as you exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale up to center. Good, as you exhale, palms plant, curl your right toes under. Inhale, take your arms out wide. Exhale, stretch them forward. Take an inhale here. And then exhale, palms plant, step to your plank pose. Take an inhale here. This is our last chaturanga. Exhale, shift forward, lower halfway, hover. This is a distinct pose onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra. As you exhale, you pull back, downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale here. And then open your mouth. Sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And we're going to move towards the yin part of our practice. I'm going to get my stopwatch ready here. Okay, so from your downward dog, go ahead and just lower to your knees. And I'm going to give you a couple variations here. So we're going to come into our dragon stretch, which is a big hip flexor stretch. For some of us, we're going to feel it in the outer hips, the glutes. And there's a couple variations that you can do this. So just depending upon what you're working with in your body, energetically, how you're feeling today. So option one, right leg forward. So very similar to what we did. So just melting down. Hands might be on blocks here. And there's a couple different ways that you can approach this. So this is like our medium flying dragon. If you want to bring both hands to the inside, potentially even lowering onto forearms or forearms on a block. You could even roll to the outer edge of your right foot. That's going to just get into the inseam of this right leg. This is a variation. You also might choose a high flying dragon. So hands either on front thigh, or you could have fingertips on a block. You might even interlace your fingers behind you, pull those shoulder blades together so you get a little heart stretch and opening. So if you know that you want to take one of those variations, or if you want to move into a few of them, you can move there now. We're going to be in this pose for 3 minutes. I'm going to start our timer. Now, if being upright isn't working for you for whatever reason, you're going to come onto your back. So both knees bent. You're going to bend your right knee in, and you're either going to hold the thigh and gently press down, or you're going to grab the outer edge of your foot, right foot. So you can stay here like this. If you want to go a little deeper, you extend that left leg to straight. So you start to get into this, it's the same pose, basically laying down. So you're feeling that stretch on that left hip flexor. And if you're a little tighter, this might be the better variation. All right, so with our yin practice, as opposed to our vinyasa flow practice, we're not trying to muscle things in so much. So we're trying to get deeper into the joints, the fascia. And it can feel quite intense. So I always say err on the side of less, especially since we're holding these for a few minutes. So back out if you need to. And of course, always come out of poses if you need to. There is no shame in that. Know that side to side, these things can feel really different. So you might be upright on one side and then laying down on the other side. So be willing to adjust as needed. As you start to soften into the pose a little bit, if you feel like you need a little more intensity, that's when you start to move in more. The other thing about these yin stretches, you are welcome to continue with your ujjayi breath if you like that. For a lot of us, it's a nice way to build heat in the body. Also, that sound gives us something to focus on. You could just simply inhale and exhale through your nose as well. Maybe work with box breath. So inhaling to 6, holding for 6, exhaling to 6, and then holding at the bottom to the count of 6. So you can play around with all of these things. If you are newer to yin, it seems like stretching would be really easy, but it's actually really challenging. I think it's much easier to flow through poses. It's always harder holding them, and especially in this context where when we're getting in pretty deep and holding for a really long time. So breath work, kind of giving your brain something else to chew on, can be really helpful. Just also knowing that, we're not going to hold these poses forever. We've got a couple more breaths here. Okay, so our transition out of this pose today, we're going to turn this into our sleeping swan. Again, if you want to pull out and just watch this really quick, so we're going to walk that right foot over. If you're a little tighter in your hips, you're going to grab a block or blanket for underneath your right seat. Also, the closer you bring your right heel towards your left hip, the easier it's going to be. If you're a little more open, you're going to start to square your shin to the top of the mat. And then you fold down any amount here. Hands might, you might be upright on fingertips. You might be folding all the way in. You could be resting your forehead on a block. So if this works for you, that's where you're going to stay. Otherwise, and again, we're going to be in here for 3 minutes. If you are on your back in that dragon stretch, you're going to go ahead and bend your left knee again, cross right ankle over that left knee. And then you can take your right hand, press into that right thigh. You don't necessarily need to flex your foot in this variation unless there's sensation in your knee. If there's sensation in your knee, flex the foot. If you want to go deeper here in this variation, you can bend that left thigh into your chest, interlacing fingers, either around the thigh or the shin. Good. So you should be feeling some sensation in that outer right hip wherever you're at. If you are in the sleeping swan, so upright, excuse me, maybe you're melting in a little more. If it's starting to feel intense, back out a little bit. And again, always come out of the pose early if you need to. You can always move into a child's pose. So we don't want to suffer unnecessarily here. We definitely want some sensation. We're trying to open things up, stretch things out, but it can be a fine line before from kind of torturing ourselves, injuring ourselves. We definitely don't want that. There is wisdom in doing less. We've got about a minute left here. If you are in your sleeping swan and you wanted to find a little up dog in your body, you could come up onto your fingertips. Even fingertips on blocks can feel really nice. Press your shoulder heads back. And then you're going to notice again, this is a nice hip flexor stretch on that left leg for some of us. Observe if there's any tension in your face and jaw. Can you smile a little bit? We're almost there. It's almost done. The good thing about these poses is they don't last forever. Okay, so we're going to start to make our way out of this. We're going to do those two poses to the second side. So, however you want to get back, if you wanted to come into a quick little downward facing dog, if you're upright, you're welcome to do that. Maybe a couple rounds of your cat cow. Just kind of letting that go. If you're on your back, you can hug your knees into your chest, rock and roll a little bit from side to side. We come back into the dragon pose on the left side. So if you're upright, you're going to step this left foot forward. And again, you have options. You can be in this medium flying dragon. Maybe you took that variation with hands to the inside, perhaps letting that leg roll out, maybe even eventually coming to your forearms. High flying dragon for some of us. Some of us might have added the shoulder variations wherever you want to be. If you're on your back, you're either holding that inner left thigh, the outer edge of your left foot. I'm starting our timer here. And then if you're on your back, you can extend that right leg to straight if that feels okay. So just find where you need to be. Keep that breath smooth and steady. Notice how this side feels different in your body. What's going on? And then again, it's okay to explore all of these positions. You don't necessarily need to hold the same one for the full 3 minutes. Where might you be gripping in your body? Where can you soften and release a little bit? Just explore that. Keep returning to that inhale through your nose and that exhale through your nose. Use the breath to help you be present, even in these poses that can feel really challenging, especially for some of us. Doing good. We're down to our last minute here. I never know if it's good to tell you or not. Sometimes it's better not knowing. So if that just made you think, oh my God, they're still that long, that means you're doing too much. Back out a little bit, give yourself a little break. Even come to child's pose if you need to. Conversely, if you're kind of in a place where you're hanging out, you're not feeling much, see if you can move in a little deeper. Just challenge yourself a little bit. Find your edge. About 3 good breaths here. All right, so we transition to either our sleeping swan pose. So you're gonna walk that left foot off to the right. Again, if you're a little tighter, you're gonna bring your left heel closer to that right hip. Otherwise, if you're a little more open, you can have your shin more parallel to the top of the mat. And then you start to melt in any amount, resting head on a block, on stacked fists. If you are on your back, you are coming into your reclining pigeon pose. So crossing left ankle above your right knee. You could just stay there, pressing your left hand into that left thigh, or you bend your right knee into your chest and are lacing fingers either around the thigh or shin, maybe starting at one place and then moving to the next level. In this sleeping swan, if the hips are tight, if you're feeling a little uneven here, you want both hip bones to be releasing down towards the mat evenly. If that's not where you're at, that means you need a little support underneath your left buttocks. So just slide a blanket or a block there, cushion from the couch, whatever you've got. You might visualize your exhale, that breath going to the outer left hip, especially if this is really intense for you. So just visualize the breath, creating a little space, a little ease in your body. Come out of the pose a little bit if you need to for a breath or two, and then work your way back in. Observe any chatter that might be happening in your head. Smile at it, especially if your brain is saying, oh, this sucks, get me out. Why are my hips still so tight after all of these years? See if you can let all of that go. We are where we are. It's okay. It's different every day. We are down to our last minute here. Again, if you are in your sleeping swan and you wanted to do more of an upright swan, this can feel really nice. It does get into the lower back a little more. So perhaps you need to activate the outer hips, squeeze them in towards the midline a little bit. We are in the home stretch. Keep your breath nice, smooth, steady. All right, so we're gonna make our way out of this. So again, if you're in your upright swan or your sleeping swan, maybe you wanna come back to a downward facing dog, pedal the feet back and forth, maybe do a few rounds of cat-cow, see what you need. If you're on your back, hug your knees into your chest. Rock and roll a little bit from side to side. Good. So our next pose, we're gonna come into a back bend. So we're gonna hold this for a few minutes. I'm gonna give you a couple of options again. So kind of depending on how you're feeling, you might be coming onto your belly into Sphinx Pose. So shoulders over your elbows, pressing down into your forearms, and then it feels like you're gonna slide the mat back. You might bring your forearms on 2 blocks here. And eventually, as we start to warm up, you might even come into seal pose. So in seal pose, let me get this block out of the way for you. You're bringing your arms straight to any amount. A few of us might even play with putting hands on blocks here. So that's if you have a pretty good back bend and this doesn't put a lot of undue pressure, especially in your lower back. Trying to pop the chest forward through the gates of your shoulders. So if that's just not resonating with you today, you are gonna come onto your back, maybe you're still there, and you're gonna come into a supported bridge pose. So knees bent, you will slide that block underneath your sacrum. The taller the block, the more stretch you're gonna get. You're gonna feel this in the hip flexors a little bit. And we've got about 4 minutes here, so see where you wanna be. Definitely if you're upright, I recommend starting on your forearms. So in that Sphinx pose, kind of getting a feel for this, feeling your pubic bone rooting down, and then eventually you might want to go deeper. And I'll cue you when we're at the halfway point so you know. So again, in yin, we're not kind of muscling things in so much. However, if you are on your belly here and you're a little more tender in your back bend, I do recommend firing up your glutes, feeling the outer hips squeeze in, and that's just going to give you a little support. We're trying to press the shoulder heads back here, so we're trying to keep that openness across the heart and chest. If you are on your back, do make sure that you're not rolling to the outer edges of your feet and that your knees aren't winging out. So kind of more in a restorative pose, but you do want to keep, pay some attention to your alignment. Notice where your thoughts are going. We're about at the halfway mark. So if you are down on your forearms and you want to go a little bit deeper, you're welcome to press into your hands any amount. Keep those shoulder heads pressing back. If you are on your back, perhaps you want to extend forward through your right heel. So bringing that leg to straight, keep it active. You're going to keep your left knee bent and your hips are, or your sacrum rather, is still on the block. I'm going to just demo that really quick. So you're going to get more into the hip flexor stretch. So just pressing that right leg to straight. And you might feel a little something there. And then you can go ahead and bend that right knee in if you are in your bridge pose, and then extend forward through that left leg. So just evening out. And if you are on your belly and you need to back out a little bit, you're welcome to. If you're wanting to come a little higher and have blocks available, you can do that. See if you can keep those shoulder blades releasing down. So we don't want them squeezing up around our ears. So you're finding that openness, the heart and chest, that sternum is gently lifting. All right, so if you're on your back and your left leg is extended to straight, go ahead and bend that knee back in. Okay, we're gonna all lower from where we're at. So pull the block out from underneath if you're there. So if you're on your back, you're gonna bend your knees, bring your feet as wide as your mat, and then you're gonna start to windshield wiper your legs back and forth. If you're on your belly, you're gonna do the same thing. So just bend your knees, allow them to feet to fall one side, then the other. So just trying to release the lower back. So just make sure that you feel even. And then we're gonna press up to a seat. So we're gonna come into our Upavista. So Dragonfly Pose in Yin parlance. So legs are gonna come out wide. And if you are really open here, you're not gonna take your legs as wide as they can go. You're gonna do a little less. And typically when we're doing this at the end of a vinyasa class, I'm asking you to really keep the toes pointing up. Start there, but then you can let the legs relax if that feels good. We're gonna do a nice little forward fold here for a few minutes. You might like to, I kind of like to put a block so I can lay my lower belly. And then maybe something for your chin or forehead. If you're in a tighter body, you're gonna be upright. The other thing that you might do here is find a piece of wall and then take your legs up the wall in this dragonfly shape. And this can feel really nice. You're gonna still get a really great opening, but you have that support of the wall. So these are your options. And again, we've got a few minutes here. So as always, start out doing less. You have time to melt in. This is one of those poses that you either it's easier in your body and hence you love it. Or for most of us, I think the majority, this is a harder pose. So observe where you're at, be okay with where you're at. Just know that as you do this over the course of many weeks, months, years, it does get easier. We do start to see little improvements, even if they're really subtle, even if they're hard to detect. Check in with your face and jaw, make sure that you're not clenching, holding tension that you don't need to. Back out a little bit if you're starting to feel too much intense sensation. And that might even be true if you're at the wall. Maybe your legs have started to open up a little more and you need to bring them in a little closer. Maybe they even need a break altogether, so you could bring legs together. Almost there. Okay. So if you're at the wall, you're just going to stay in the shape that you're in. If you're upright, you're going to walk your hands in, and then we're going to do a 2-minute hold to each side. So a little twist. So we're going to twist to the right first. And then again, you just fold in any amount. It need not be very deep. If you're pretty upright, you might take a strap and just hold it over one strap in each hand, the strap around your foot. Your left sit bone's going to lift up a little bit here. That's okay, but imagine that somebody is just gently anchoring you down. Again, just take your time easing in. You don't have to hit the peak of the pose right at the beginning. And if you are in deep and it starts to feel like too much, you back out. When your attention wanders, come back to your breath. Count your breath if you need to. Again, a little something for the brain to chew on is always a good thing. It actually helps us to build the mindfulness muscle. And just know that some days it's easier to be in these longer holds. Some days it's just harder. That's okay. It's called being human. Again, if you're at the wall, you can just stay where you're at. If you want to bring the legs together so they're just straight up the wall, more of a Paschimottanasana, that's fine as well. Otherwise, if you're upright, start to come on up, and then we take that second side, which could feel entirely different. So again, hands could be on blocks. Maybe you're using your strap. Just see where you need to be. And then again, see if you can just root down into that right sit bone a little more. Maybe just imagine that somebody is there anchoring you a little bit. Maybe even just pretend that you had like a sandbag on top of that thigh. It's funny, I just said sandbag, and I am now recalling a dream that I had last night in which I was in Los Angeles and a big tsunami came in. So I did used to live in Los Angeles, and I am planning on visiting Los Angeles. So I'm guessing this is why I had this dream. See, a lot comes up when you're holding poses. Our brains go all kinds of places. I survived the tsunami, as did most people. It was weird, as dreams are. How's that for distraction? We're almost done on this side. Couple more good breaths. Okay, so if you are at the wall, your legs are still out, just kind of take your hands underneath your knees, squeeze them in. If you're upright, come back to center, and then you're going to take your hands underneath your knees. Ooh, draw them in. Give yourself a little hug here. Good. And then we have one more final either forward fold, hip stretch. Again, I'm going to give you a choice here. So we're going to come into our butterfly pose, but we're going to take a wider diamond. So classically in this pose, we have the heels in towards the groin pretty deep. I want you to take a nice wide diamond. And again, you could be doing this at the wall, so soles of the feet together and hinge forward. So this is where blocks can be really nice. Resting your forehead on something. The other variation is to do this pose on your back. So if you're coming on the back, there's a few different ways you can approach this. If you're a little more open and flexible, you're probably not going to need props. Otherwise, most of us are going to want to take some blocks underneath the thighs. You might even use a bolster underneath your heels and then the blocks, and that can just give you a little more stretch too. And you don't have to use the blocks if you kind of want to feel the stretch in that area. You're fine, as long as you feel okay. So we've got a few minutes here, wherever you're at. Make sure that you're not gripping or tensing anywhere that you don't need to. Just soften in those places. That includes face and jaw. When your attention wanders, come back to your breath. Unless you're daydreaming about something really good, then stay there. I think sometimes we can get really rigid about yoga and what it's supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like. And it is only yoga after all. So the most important thing is that it feels good to you, whatever you're doing. It's something that you enjoy as opposed to a have to. Again, this is a nice long hold. So if you're feeling overstretched anywhere, you need to back out a little bit or just come out of the pose altogether. You can come back into it again if you want, but give yourself the opportunity to take a little break if you need to. I'm trying to remember other parts of my dream state last night to share with you now to help pass the time. But unfortunately, the tsunami in LA is all that I've got. So doing good. Coming up on our last little bit here, the home stretch. All right, so if you are upright, you're gonna go ahead and start to make your way out of the forward fold that you're in. And then either place, either upright or on your back, you're gonna bring your hands to the outer thighs to help draw the knees in. If you're upright, you're gonna join us on your back. And we're all gonna give our knees a squeeze here. You can just rock and roll a little bit from side to side. We've made it to our Shavasana. Before we come there, we're just gonna take a quick little twist to each side. So keep your knees squeezing in, bring your arms out in a T shape, deep inhale here. As you exhale, knees fall to the right. You could always slide a little prop underneath them. Try to keep that left shoulder blade heavy in the mat, and then you might be gazing out over your left fingertips, feeling these left ribs release down. And of course, if turning your cheek to the side doesn't feel good, if it's too intense in the neck, you're just gazing straight up at the ceiling. Inhale, knees up to center. And then exhale, they drop off to the left. This side might feel different. Try to keep that right shoulder blade releasing down nice and heavy. If you're not able to do that, probably means that you need to prop something or prop up your knees a little bit. Good. Inhale to center, one final squeeze. You're going to make your way into your Shavasana. So I have my bolster here. I'm going to just slide so that it's underneath my knees, which feels really good. If you don't have a bolster, but there's tenderness in your lower back, you're going to take your feet as wide as your mat, knees bent, just allow your knees to knock in towards each other. And then take your arms nice and wide, palms face up, so you can feel the shoulder blades snuggle under and then release down. So there's that lift. It's that bridge pose feeling in our upper body. Take a deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then just melt in here. Take rest. Allow your breath to find its own natural rhythm. Allow your body to feel heavy and relaxed and supported. Asato ma satgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma mritam gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Take a deeper inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. Wiggle fingers, toes, circle ankles, stretch out. And then staying soft and quiet, roll to one side or the other, and then gently press up to a comfortable seat. Pause here a moment, just check in. Notice how you feel differently than when you started. Send yourself love and gratitude for showing up and working hard. And just promise yourself that you're going to carry this good feeling with you into the rest of the day ahead. Bring your palms together at your heart, bow your head with a smile. Beautiful work today. Thank you for joining me here on YouTube. I've got lots of videos, so be sure to check them out and feel free to reach out to me if there's something that you would like to see. Have a great day.